Hi guys, my name's Melanie Newman. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Today we have Raffy. Raffy is an Old English Sheepdog cross poodle. So when Raffy came into me last week for his little assessment, I had a good look at his coat, and it's really important as a groomer that we understand the two different breeds, an Old English Sheepdog and a poodle, so we can get an idea of their coat. Now he is 2 years old, so he was going through a little bit of a gnarly coat change, so his mum had to get him clipped off pretty short, so he's growing back because he was quite knotty from his coat change. But as I've gone through his coat before the bath, I've given him a quick brush, so just to make sure he's got no major knots and tangles. But he does have a little bit of undercoat in him, and that comes from the Old English Sheepdog. So as I'm drying him, and I'm going to dry him on low with a stand dryer because he is noise sensitive and he is still quite young, so he does have a lot to learn. But as I dry him, we'll probably remove a lot more of that undercoat. So let's just jump straight into it. Okie dokie guys, so he is in the bath. Like I said before, I put a slicker through him before the bath. So I'm going to shampoo him twice and give him a really good condition as well, because I really want to get as much undercoat as I can out of his hair. So it's going to make it a lot easier when we clip him and scissor his legs. So shampoo him twice and condition him once. Okay, so this is his first time with me, so I'm just going to see how he's going to go with the sound. Good boy. He seems okay. He's a little bit shaky. Good boy. Good boy. And I'll gently start with his back end. Yeah, he'll be fine. Good boy. Nice and warm. I'm using our Relax collection on him today, so that's lavender, geranium and bergamot. So this is a collection that I would use on a curly coated dog, and I know on other videos with double coated breeds I've used our Refresh collection, but I really want a lighter formulation on his coat, so that's why I've chosen the Relax, so it's not going to pull down his curls when we clip him later. Okay, so this is his second shampoo. Okie dokie, so we're going to rinse him off, and then we are going to give him a really good condition. So he is completely rinsed off, so now I'm going to give him a really good deep condition, and I'm probably going to let it sit for a good 5 minutes just so it really absorbs and hydrates his coat and moisturizes his skin, and I'll give him a nice little rub down while the conditioner's on. Okay, so I've left his conditioner on for a little bit now, so I'm going to completely rinse it off so there's no conditioner left in his coat, there's no residue, there's no product whatsoever. So I really want this coat to really separate when it's dry and look really fluffy and alive. Okie dokie guys, he is completely rinsed out, and when I look at the water, there's no product coming out of his coat and it's clear. There's no slippery conditioner left, so that's how I know all the product's out. So I'm going to give him a good towel dry because he hates the sound of the dryer, so I'm going to do a lot of the work drying him with the towel in the bath and then moving to the grooming table and then just dry him super gently. So he's out of the bath. I've towel dried him as much as possible so there's no wet drips coming off him. I'm using our Relax Coat Conditioning Spray all through his coat. Now he hates the sound of the dryer, so I'm sure even with the softest dryer it's really going to affect him. So I'm definitely going to use a Happy hoodie on him so it helps block out that noise. But before I dry him, I'm actually going to use our universal slicker to go through his coat and really separate it, remove any knots and tangles before I dry him. So this will help speed up that drying process, and it'll also help remove any undercoat in his hair, and it helps separate the coat when we do pop the dryer on him. So I'll probably spend about a good 10 minutes going through his coat, and this is what I usually do with dogs that are really freaked out by loud noises, and especially the dryer. So as I'm going through his coat, you'll be able to see the sort of clumps of undercoat that's in his hair, and I don't think it's actually matted, it's just clumped from the bathing process. But once I've gone through with my slicker, then I'm going to go through with a wide tooth comb to just make sure I've removed all those big clumps, because the clumps of hair are going to take longer to dry. So his coat, I think, is completely brushed out. So I've popped the wide tooth comb through his hair as well. I'm going to pop his Happy hoodie on and then turn our stand dryer on low. So hopefully he'll be okay with the noise, but we'll just take it nice and easy so he can warm up to that dryer, because I definitely have to get this coat dry. He's a little bit shaky, but I'm just going to bring the dryer in a little bit closer. And then just start to brush his coat at the same time. Okay, so I've gone through his coat with our wide tooth comb, and now the fine tooth comb should just glide through, which it does. So I have to make sure there is no knots and tangles throughout his coat, because I'm going to be using a snap-on attachment comb, and this will leave his body at 1 inch left on his coat. So I'm using a 30 blade underneath, and I'm going to clip off his body, but I'm actually going to scissor in his legs and blend in his legs and do cute little round feet and scissor in his head. So it's going to be a cute little teddy trim on him, and I think he's going to come up looking really spectacular. Okay, so I'm going to start on his back first. Now, if he had knots and tangles throughout his coat, there is no way this snap-on attachment comb could go through, so it would snag on his coat. So it really has to be tangle-free with no undercoat that's going to snag on the snap-on attachment comb, because that would really hurt him as well. But I'm taking this right down his back, so right down his top line. His coat's going to come up beautiful. So he's got that nice silver coming through. And then around his rib cage. And as I'm coming around his coat, I'm actually following the direction of his coat growth, so it's not going to leave any track marks. Is that okay, buddy? Good boy. So it's not going to leave any track marks. So track marks are where we can actually see the clipper line. So we want it to be nice and plush and seamlessly through his coat, so it really looks nice and natural. So as I come off his hip area, I'm going to just blend this in and skim it down his leg. Raffy, good boy. And I'm going to come to the front. Now he is noise sensitive, so I just want to show him the clipper, and then gently move his ear out of the way and come behind his ear and down his shoulder area. I'm coming down into his wither. And at the front of that leg, so we're just skimming that all in, because I'm not actually going to take a lot of these legs. I'm coming at the front of his neck area and his throat, and the clipper line is from his jawline, so I'm going to bring that clipper right up and come straight down. And just gently move the grooming loop away from that neck area. I'm coming right behind his ears and making sure those ears are moved forward. He's doing pretty well with the noise. So I like to just pop my comb through just to make sure it's nice and even. and there's no long tufts hanging out. Good boy. And holding on to that flank area, just so we're aware that it's there, because this is a danger point, and just coming straight over it with our clipper. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the other side. Normally I would maneuver him around to the other side, but I think he still is a little bit nervous and he's pretty grounded to the grooming table. So when that does happen, I do like to keep him in the same position. So you guys might not be able to see this side, but it's going to be exactly the same as our camera side. But my first thought is how he feels. So he feels really safe where he is, so I'm going to leave him. I've clipped his body but not his legs on an inch snap-on with the 30 blade underneath. I'm going to pop a 1/2 inch snap-on in length under his belly area, just so it takes it that little bit shorter, so when he goes for walks it's not going to get messy, because that area did have quite a lot of little knots in there, and I know the little knots are just caused from the wet grass because it is winter here in Melbourne. I have also clipped out his private areas, including his little bum area, so I'll pop the videos for that in the comments below. So I'm going to use the 1/2 inch snap-on underneath his belly area. And again, we're going to go with the direction of the coat growth. And moving those little legs forward. That keeps it nice and neat in his underarm area as well. Okay, good boy. Okay, so I'll just neaten that up with my scissors as well. So once I get rid of all the hair off my table so it's nice and neat and tidy, we will clip his nails, and then I'm going to begin scissoring his little feet nice and round. So he didn't like the nail grinder on his feet, so he's definitely not going to like me clipping out his pads. So I'm going to scissor out the hair around his pad area, and when I use my scissors in this area I'm just using the tip, so I'm not using this part of the scissor, it's just the tip. And using my slicker to brush out all those little hairs. Good boy, buddy. Good boy. Good boy. And just coming around the back of our pad. Good boy. So anything that's going to sit on the mat or the ground, I'm going to scissor off. Good boy. Okay, so when that foot's on the ground, I can then comb all those little hairs out and down. And then using my straights, and again using the tip, I'm going to then scissor around his foot so it's nice and round. Good boy. And I would probably not pick up his foot too much because he is a little bit skeptical about me picking his feet up at the moment, so I would have to build trust with him. And comb all those little hairs up, especially on his little tootsies. Again, scissor nice and round because we want a nice full teddy foot. So from his shoulder, I want his leg to come straight down so it looks nice and full from all sides. So I'm not going to scissor much off, it's just the tips, but just coming straight down the insides of the leg. So we're just sort of neatening everything up. And comb all the hairs and cross check. And then the outside of the front leg. And then just coming straight down. And I'm not taking much off because I don't need to, because I want these legs to be really full. Move to the back of him to do the back of the front legs, and just coming straight down. And comb all those little hairs back up. So it doesn't need much at all. And once this is all grown, we're going to get a nice full leg. So it's going to look quite nice. Okay, so we'll move that front foot forward and then tidy up our underline. And I'm going to be using some blenders for this. So coming from his underarm area, and I'm trying to go with the direction of the coat growth when I'm tidying up this underline. So this is our transitional line. This was clipped with 1 inch, and then this was a 1/2 inch snap on. So we definitely need to, so if I comb all that up, we can see that transition. So definitely need to blend it in. Okay, so the same process, using our slicker to brush all these little hairs up. Use the tips of our scissors and scissor out all the hair around his pad area. I like to comb down at the top of our pad so we get a nice clean line here. And then around the front of his little tootsies. Good boy. He much prefers like scissored feet than anything clipped coming near him, that's for sure. Then let's just cross check. Brush all this up. And then pop his little foot on the ground. We are going to comb all these little hairs downwards, and again using the tips, and I like to come on a 45-degree angle with my scissor, so I'm coming in this way and then come around his foot. So this gets it nice and round. And then come to the front. And the insides, which is cross check. We're combing. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then move his little tail out the way because I don't want to cut any of this hair. So gently move it aside and comb up all these hairs. He's got a little snag here that's gone. And lift all that coat up. And then this hock area, I'm just going to tip the hair and tip it and follow it through to his foot. And I like to make sure we've got the same width throughout his leg so we don't come big, big, big and then skinny. I really like to balance it out, so keep that in mind when you are scissoring your dog's legs, that you want a nice balanced full leg. And then from our rear profile, coming through with my scissors and just scissoring off anything that is sticking out, so anything major. Comb up. And we're kind of just lightly going over the coat, so we're not taking a great deal of length off. And then we're going to do the insides. So again, the inside, and from the rear profile, I want the same width throughout his leg, which is going to be hard for you guys to see, I'm so sorry, but I really don't want to move him because he's quite comfortable. And then just tidy off around his flank area and coming into the front of the back leg. So we're not actually changing any shape, we're just tipping off any little bits of hair. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to move on to his other side, and then his little legs are done, so it didn't need much at all. Now we're up to his sweet little head. So I really love his features. I love that his pigment is so good on his nose, his lips, around his eyes. So what I'm going to do is first scissor out the insides corner of his little eyes, so in front of his eyes, so we just keep this nice and clean. And I'm just coming in with my straights here. And then his other side, and using my fine tooth comb to help move those little hairs out. And then using my straights and just coming into his stop area. So I don't want this scissor too short. I want to keep a little bit of fullness in his stop area. And just bring down a little bit of his fringe. And using my blenders, I'm going to come in and just start to blend out his eye area. Good boy, good boy. So I want to keep as much softness as we possibly can in his head. Good boy, buddy. And coming out to the outer corner of his eyes. Good boy. And then comb all these little hairs up. So then we can see his little eyes, but we're starting to give him a little bit more expression through his eye area. And then I'm going to close his mouth. And using my straights, I'm going to scissor out his little lip area into his muzzle. And then the other side, use our fine tooth comb to pull out all those little hairs. So it just keeps it nice and neat and tidy. Good boy. And again, using our blenders, we're going to come around his muzzle, so around his nose area, and then into his cheek. And so it's that nice round circle. And we're not going to take it really short, we're just sort of coming over and creating a little bit of shape. So we can come the other way when it's our offside. And inside his ear, all those little hairs, I just want to remove with my scissors, just so it cleans it up a little bit. Good boy. Okay, so if we comb all those hairs up from this front profile, now we can see we want this nice and round. So if he just closes his little chompers, I can then use my blenders to start and create that roundness. Good boy. I think he's falling asleep. That's good. So we're just creating softness through his muzzle area and just bringing it nice and round. Good boy. And closing those little chompers, but he doesn't like it. Boy. And coming up in that cheek area. Come on, you're okay. And then comb down all this hair around his jawline. Good boy. And we just want to get this nice and even coming through from each side of his head. Good boy. Good boy. He's not sure about this part. Good boy. Good boy, Raffy. Good boy. You can do it. And then we'll just tidy up on the top of his muzzle. I'm going to try and close his little lips. Come on, no. And just blend in a little bit more around his mouth area. Okay, and using our curves, we're going to round off the top of his skull. And I'm probably taking about 1/2 inch off. Flop that ear back over. Okay, so he's decided to lay down and that's totally fine. So I'm happy with the shape that we've created, but we just need to blend everything back in. So we just pop his little tongue in. I'm then going to use my thinners to really blend in any of these scissored areas. So we really get that soft, plush look on his head. And as you can see, I'm going with the direction of his coat growth. So that's blending. If I come up, we're going to be bulk reducing. So I really want to make sure that I'm following the direction of the coat growth so we get that nice blended look. And then scissor in at the back of his skull area, so where we've clipped on the 1/2 inch, and we can see what needs to come off. Like this is quite long compared to what's on his neck. Okay, so all we've got left is his little ears. So I'm going to round them. So using my straights, I'm going to come towards the tip. And I'm using my thumb to guide where the ear leather is. So flip the ear around and then always scissor towards the tip. And I've got the ear leather here, so I can't cut it. And just rounding that ear in. So it looks a lot different. So this is our rounded ear and this is our triangle ear. So it just brings a lot of softness into the groom. So comb all that hair down. And make sure you've got the tip of the ear in between your thumb and your finger, and then round it in. Good boy. Hold that ear leather. And then we can use our blenders to really soften that ear. So if we comb all this up, from our skull we can come in and use our blenders just to get that nice and plush through our skull area and then the top of the ear. So there's no real separation. nice and even. Okay, so his head's all done, feet are scissored, legs, I've popped his little bit of flair on because I think he's pretty cool. So I'm just going to spritz his coat with our Relax Cologne. You like that, buddy? Good boy. So I'm going to pop all the equipment we've used in today's grooming session in the comments below, and probably a little bit extra information because the prep in this trim is the most important part of it. So we needed to make sure there was no knots and tangles in his coat and that it was completely dry. So it was a bit of a process, but I think the outcome is amazing. So if you guys have any questions, definitely pop them in the comments below and I will be more than happy to get back to you. And until next time guys, happy grooming.